So, Josh, tell me about yourself.
Well, I'm 29 years old. I'm just became homeless for the first time last summer, and I'm trying to get my life in order right now. Other than that, it's been a challenge, but I wouldn't change my life for the world. Wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy, but I wouldn't ever change it either. Because I wouldn't be the person I am today if I hadn't done what I've done.
What's your daily life on the streets out here like?
Well, it kind of consists like this: going to the Salvation Army down to the landing, and I come see all my friends and stuff like that. It's not the greatest. It kind of sucks, to be honest. But at the same time, last summer there was a lot of freedom to it. A lot of freedom to it. And I still even had a job. So it's like, I didn't have to worry about food and stuff like that. So it was just more community helping each other. Like, I even walked around and took other homeless people food when I didn't have any myself, You kind of do the community group thing. But it sucks in the winter.
I've seen that a lot of people taking care of each other out here.
Yeah, there is a lot of us that do that. I actually built an entire hut and like a miniature house out behind the groom transportation. It was literally like full rock wall, 8.5 foot wide, almost 20 foot long. And I told anyone that was homeless or passing through, I said, "There's food in there, there's dishes. Mi casa su casa, get out of the cold." I had an axe there, wood always split, and it was all things I found here in like dumpsters and stuff. About concrete blankets that are torn up and wrecked, an old billboard for the roof, a pole that was laying in the gully, tin shingles that were laying in the gully. Like, this thing was the Taj Mahal. I wish I still had pictures of it.
It's amazing how much stuff gets thrown out that could be repurposed.
Everything should be reused. Today in this age, we teach our kids in school, recycle, reuse, no waste, right? But what do we do when we get home and they tear a tennis shoe? We throw it in the trash and go get new ones, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, Red Wing boots, for instance. You tear a Red Wing boot sole, what do?
They repair it?
Yeah, you take it back in and get it repaired, Simple fixes. We don't even teach kids common sense like that anymore. Something breaks, like a Xbox controller or something, how do you fix it?
They're not made to be fixed, I don't think.
Well, a lot of the times it's just, grease build up in the buttons where they get stuck. Take the screws out, take it apart, clean it, put it back together. What do? Throw it away, buy new. We are so built in America now of just build new, get new. Everything's new. Back in the day, your cars lasted you how many years?
They could last you a lifetime if you took care of it.
Nowadays, what's a car going to last you? One winter? I've seen these, 2021 Chevys already got rust on them. So, nothing's built to last anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
And not even communities.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that they have all this Section 8 housing, all these income-based housings, but yet 48, you make $48,000 a year, right? Your rent's $12 to $1,600 a month. What does that really leave you to take care of your family when you think about it? Because you can't make more than $48,000, and your rent is still $12 to $1,600, plus your Wi-Fi, your cable, everything, your power half the time. It's just ridiculous. The rich are getting richer, and our communities are suffering because of it. It's ridiculous. And like me, for instance, I can't get anywhere to rent in this town ever. I've done all my treatment when I was in prison, everything. I was good. I did 4 months of work release, and nobody will rent to me because of my drug crime and my past offenses.
I've heard that from a lot of people. They just, even if they get it together, they can't find a place that'll take them.
Nope. They won't. This town is very selective. Mayo runs it. Mayo would rather have all these other people here that don't have any crimes, and that's right. Our government is paying for them to stay. That's Section 8. That's all paid. It's guaranteed income instead of giving the little guy a chance. And then the rest, the places that I could get in are the slumlords. They're bad. Really bad. Like, I had this one guy. My friend, Brianna, was living, and she couldn't make her rent. She comes out of the office crying. I said, "What do you do? What's going on?" Because I told her, I said, "See if he'll give you 2 weeks and I'll pay your rent back, 2 months." Well, he said, if I can't pay today, I gotta go. Otherwise, I could do something else, he said. I said, that's just That's not okay, you know. And I maybe went and had a little chat with him.
There's definitely people out there looking to take advantage.
You know, you should never help someone for personal gain. If you're going to help, it's to help. The only thing you should be getting out of it is self-enlightenment. That's what help is. Help is a self-enlightenment thing. Like, I give the shirt off my back to people, you know? And do I expect anything in return? Nope. Am I disappointed when my close friends, they don't answer the phone or they don't do anything for me? After all, yeah, I'm hurt and I'm disappointed. But do I expect them to? Absolutely not. Because the only person who has you in this world is you. You know? It doesn't matter if they're your brother, your mother, your dad, your grandfather. The only person at the end of the day, who has whose back? You. And only you. Now, you can have everybody else's in the world's back. But are they going to have yours? Can you guarantee that?
Yeah, it's tough.
Because I can guarantee this. At the end of the day, I know I have myself. I'm good for me. But that's because I make sure I'm always okay. Because you can't depend on anybody nowadays. There's nobody that's like solid. And you know what? I'm kind of hypocritical in that. But at the same time, I pick and choose. You know?
I think you have to. It's hard to be there for yourself and be there for everybody you care about at the same time, you know?
It is, and that's my biggest problem, I guess. One of my, is I don't know how to put myself first. That's why my fiance left me back in 14. And that's when my addiction really got bad. That's when I spiraled downward, got a ton of money, and couldn't figure out why she's leaving. How do you get left for being too nice? That's what she told me. I'm leaving you because you're too nice. And that's, it took me a long time to realize that it was the fact that she couldn't stand what she was doing to me. And, all my friends told me that she's been robbing me and this and that. I never believed them. And I didn't care. Take all my money. I don't need it. Today, if I had money, I'd have gave you everything I had in my wallet if I had anything. I was wishing I did, but I haven't gotten a hold of anybody that owes me the money. But, because, whatever you're doing here, this free oil change and stuff like that, I know that hurts your pocket. It's got to. Because oil's not cheap, even the STP from Walmart and them filters. And I think you're doing an amazing thing, man. And if you ever need help and you see me out and about, yell at me. I'll come, I'll jump in. I'll go do whatever you need to get done.
All right.
I've been a mechanic all my life,
I appreciate it.
I grew up in a shop. My dad owned his own business.
Okay.
I grew up in kind of a twisted home, though.
Yeah, tell me about that.
So my old man, he was real unique, and he was pretty much untouchable. He was known as Satan around here. It was that, I'm going to knock you unconscious and leave you in a pool of your own blood, but I love you. First time I touched my own tools without asking, he broke my hands. But at the same time, I love my dad. I miss him to this day, every single day. I regret the last thing I told him was I hate you and I hope you fucking die. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to swear.
It's alright.
But and that ate at me for a long, long time. It still does today. But I know he knows I didn't mean it. But you gotta be careful what you say and watch what you wish for, because it might just come true and be the last thing you get. My old man was a really good guy, but a really bad one too. Drugs kind of took over him, and his schizophrenia kicked in, and yeah, I remember getting taken out at gunpoint by him from my neighbor's house. My dad came, and sheriffs were there too, and he pulled me, my mom, and my sister out of the basement of the neighbor's house because we were hiding at gunpoint. Made me play Russian roulette for my family.
It's a lot of trauma.
It is. It's really hard when you're sitting there and you look your mom in the eyes and she says it's okay. Because if you don't pull that trigger, that she's gonna get beat, you're gonna get beat. But if you do, you could be ending her life. But at the same time, you don't have a choice. That was tough. It's like looking at your mom and having her tell her it's okay if you're gonna possibly kill her. That eats, man. It eats a person. And
Do you think your childhood explains your current situation?
no,
No.
no. I left here in 2000. Was it 8? When I got to Phoenix with my dad's dad, and I'd only met him like 3 times in my life. Right? My uncle's funeral. He came up here once, and then I met him at my dad's funeral. I met this old man 3 times in my life. My dad despised him, but I went out there for Christmas of '07. He asked me if I wanted to move out there with him. I said, yeah, I do. Because he wasn't the person my dad made him out to be. And he truly showed care and love and compassion. Like, he wanted to be involved in my life. He wanted to try and make amends because he wasn't involved in his 3 sons' lives. Now, my dad and his 2 brothers all died of drugs. All of the same drug, methamphetamine, which was my drug of choice. It's kind of weird that, my uncle got cancer from cooking it and died. My uncle Guy couldn't handle it and hung himself. And my dad shot himself. 2002 was my roughest year of my life. But back to the '08, I moved out to Phoenix in '08. I had a 1.5 GPA when I started my junior year. Now, when I graduated senior year, I had a 3.9 GPA. And I was in like the top 10% of my class. Now, a 1.5 GPA, that's a D average. To pull yourself to almost a 4.0, that's straight A's. Straight A's. I would have had a 4.0 my senior year, but my history teacher wasn't going. He's like, nope, you didn't work hard enough on this one essay, and I didn't do the last little bit of extra credit. But that's probably one of my greatest accomplishments, because my grandparents never forced me. Out there. And my grandparents here never forced me. Like, they used to hand me money and say, oh, try not to kill yourself, kid. I had that dream childhood. That childhood everyone wants, no rules, no limits. Go and do what you want. I'm out here running these streets at 10, 13 years old. I was 10 when my parents died. So then I was out running the streets, just doing whatever. And it took a toll, because everybody thinks they want that life of freedom, and I can do what I want when I want at a child's age. When in all reality, when you get that, you want structure. Without some semi-balance of structure and some semi-balance of rules, and the world is yours for the taking, you get a messed up sense of thinking. And the thinking is it becomes entitlement issues, I think. And when you're mad at the world, that's worse. Because I was mad for 10 years. I was the guy that would allegedly start firing off rounds if you cut me off of traffic. Jump out my car and pull you out your window. You're having a great day with your family, walking down the street, having an ice cream cone. I walk by, I'd smash it in your face because I could. I was that asshole.
Just angry?
Yep, I was after my parents' death for 10 years. I was angry at the world. It was the world's fault. Like, why me, of all people? First I go through a shitty childhood, and then now you take them away, and like, you just make it even worse. Like, what's going on? But I won't forget at my dad's funeral what all the old school bikers said, and just all the old schoolers in general. It's better off this way. Because otherwise you end up dead or in prison, before you're 18. Well, 9 days later, my mom died. And at her funeral, you know what they said? It's better off this way. You'll never know the resentment that your mom has every time she looks at you.
How did your mom die?
She died in a semi-rollover.
Wow.
It's actually pretty unique, because Wes Anderson was one of the largest farmers here in the state. She was working for him, and he actually paid to have that whole road redone after that. He held my mom's hand for like 40 minutes, I guess, as she died from decompression. They couldn't save her. So that was tough, My dad committed suicide, but he didn't commit suicide. It was deemed a suicide because they didn't want to take my mom and arrest her for what she did to save us. My dad was left-handed. The bullet went in his right side of his head. and I called my mother on it, you know, because she took away what I felt was mine. You know, I couldn't tell you how many times when I was holding that gun, pulling those rounds, you know, there's 4 of us, my dad, me, my mom, and my sister. I'll never forget loading that 38 with 1 round, spinning it, and having to point at every single one of them. And myself, I got lucky. It never went off. But after that, you know, that 5th click in that 6-shooter, has a blank, you know, it's 4 blanks, and then you're sitting there. Well, I could spin around, you know, and shoot my old man. I wanted to. Never had the courage to. I was mad at my mom for taking that from me. It's another thing I was mad about. That really drove me into my addiction. Because my addiction started real young. My dad shot me up with meth for the first time when I was 5 years old. You know, I OD'd on every drug in the book by the time I was 7. Hospitalized right here at Mayo Clinic. He was literally untouchable. The CPS couldn't come in, nothing. I remember in the very beginning having to go pick my dad up from work release in the Fillmore County Jail, driving his truck to pick him up to bring him to work for 6 months, taking him home at the end of the day, you know, taking him back there, coming back, because that was the one and only time they managed to touch him, and that's because the neighbors where I was living, they managed to get an assault or something on him. I can't quite remember, but remember he had to do work release for 6 months. But other than that, my dad was a great guy. You know, he was that mechanic that you call him on the side of the road, super smart. Well, what's it doing? You know, call me. Explain the noise it's making, you know, and he'd tell you exactly what it is. Well, can you get it to me? I'll come get it from you. You know, my dad taught me a lot of great things: hunting, trapping. My right and my wrong, you know, was kind of messed up because at school, you know, drugs are bad. At home, drugs are okay, right? So I had to figure that out for myself on how to decipher what's okay and what's not, because the legality side, it's not cool, right? But on the unlegality side, how can you turn your parents in? You know, you can't do that. So deciphering that line for me was different. I had to learn and make my own choices in life on how to go about living my life. You know, my dad taught me to walk into a room, beat the brakes off everyone in that room, and then have a conversation.
How do you like rectify this change in personality of him being willing to help a stranger on the side of the road, no problems,
and then do what he did to me,
and then do what he did to your family?
Because he was an angry person. He was angry at himself. You know, I learned a lot at a real young age. I was real intuitional. My dad was that great dad. You know, he used to saran wrap me to my bed, right? Leave my Swiss Army knife where I couldn't get it, and tell me he's going fishing. You got 5 minutes to get in the truck or you're not going. You know, that was my dad, in a way. Take me bear hunting. He took me everywhere. Taught me everything I know. He taught me good or bad, you know. And the way I rectify it is this. It does me no good to be mad about it. It does me no good to say it was wrong. Because he gave me the opportunity to figure out my own moral code, my own moral compass. You know, most of us had that moral compass implanted. This. I got both. You know, I got that. I'm going to smash you, leave you in a pool of blood, make you clean it up. You didn't do it, you're still going to get hurt. But yet, honesty was key with him, except for he wasn't honest with himself. So it's like, finding the right words for it's really hard, because I had to decipher and learn right from wrong in my own way. Like, I know high-speed chases, illegal. But at the same time, if there's a good enough reason for something, why not? You know, my addiction, I always thought, I'm not hurting no one but me. I never looked at it from my family's point of view. And I did that in cognitive behavioral, because I grew up getting high. You know? My mom was the opposite, though. My mom was like Mother Teresa. My dad's nickname was Satan. He's either on a good day or a bad day, so don't piss him off, because he's coming, and he's going to go straight through your house if he has to. My mom, on the other hand, was like Mother Teresa, the Virgin Mary. I remember one time we were at the Spring Valley Quick Trip. It's raining. Just misty out. No, my mom was treated like a queen, man. If people didn't hold that door for my mom, my dad's going nuts. If people didn't come open her door for her and put something over her head and make sure that she wasn't getting wet and put a jacket down and walk over that fucking puddle, watch my dad literally get out and beat an entire Quick Trip. Probably like, I don't know, 6 different families, children all. Beat them all. Because my mom didn't have someone open her door for her. Literally. I don't know how to explain what's going through my dad's head. You know? He tried to give us the world that he never had. And he took a lot away with the negativity. Like, my sister was lucky. She never got to know him like that. You know, she remembers the good parts. If my family sees this video, it's going to be the first time they hear a lot of this. They don't know what it was really like growing up as a kid. My dad broke my sternum when I was 8 years old with a steel toe boot, leaving my great-grandma's house. He did unspeakable things, taught me to do ridiculous and morbid things. But he also gave me that choice. I can do what needs to be done because sometimes dirty deeds got to get done, you know, and I'm capable of that if I had to. But at the same time, he taught me how to be a better person. Because if I can't talk with somebody, I feel, and sort something out, I don't need to talk to them. You know, a lot of people want to box, fight, and get to it and start shooting. Nowadays, everybody shoots each other, right? Back in the day, we just box it out in the backyard. Me, I conversate. I would rather be able to talk with somebody than beat them up. I was just having this conversation with a buddy last night. I said, there comes a point where once you sit down and explain something to someone, but they then continuously keep doing it, then you can get physical, you know, or something needs to be done. There needs to be some sort of educational or justification, you know. But not everybody understands everything the same way you or I would, or I do. So until that's explained to a person and how they're doing it wrong and they can see it, how can you be mad at somebody if they can't see they're doing wrong? Right?
Yeah. Speaking of like the way people see things, what do you think the world needs?
I think the world needs to just, you know, pay it forward. Help that person. Don't hate on that person. Don't judge that person. This world is a judgmental place. You know, there's white supremacies, there's, you know, all these other different groups, you know. Why can't everyone just be gray? We all bleed the same, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, we all come from different areas. Like me, I don't judge a book by its cover. You know how many times I've been told to stay away from so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so because they're a rat or they're no good? No. I want that. I will decipher that myself, and I will never pass judgment before I meet that person. Now, it's one thing if I'm given hard evidence, but still, even that doesn't mean that they're a bad person. Just maybe not in that aspect of a lifestyle, right? Because some of the greatest people I've met are actually homeless. One of the coolest dudes I ever met was there in Arizona. That was one hell of a day. We had a bunch of mushrooms, and he was the guy. Homeless man in the park. The nicest people you'll ever meet are homeless.
And I've been hearing that a lot from people about how nice everybody is and how everybody tries to take care of each other. And
That's
also about making
needs.
the world a better place, just treating each other with a little more kindness and compassion.
You know, asking someone how their day's going, just, you know, I try to say hello or acknowledge anybody I walk past. You know, I'll say, hey, how's it going? How are you doing? You know, and even a nod or, you know, just eye contact, acknowledging that you heard me. You don't have to respond. But if you can't acknowledge somebody that you've seen them or they seen you, or, you know, and accept the fact that when you're walking by the street that you're so into your phone that you don't notice what's going on around you, you're self-absorbed. And that's what the world is. They only worry about themselves and how to get up further. Why? If we all rise together, we all grow together. Who needs to be better than the rest? Why do you need to be better than somebody else? It's human nature, for one. Kind of like a judge and a cop. They feel they have more power than us? No, they don't. You know, a judge is not supposed to sit higher than you in court. It's what's the term? That superiority, or you know what I'm saying? That's what everybody wants. Like, they want to be able to control something. Why? You want to control something, control you. Because let me tell you, this world is an ugly place. Everything is born to die. Right?
Exactly. We're all gonna die.
It's inevitable. I mean, it's all hidden behind these beautiful colors and this facade of life is great. Life can be great. But what you have to realize is you have to break everything down to the gray, I feel. Because if you look at everything as gray, well then how can anyone be better than the rest? Money's the root of all evil, the Bible says so. You know? I mean, I would rather work for my place to stay and my food and, help you for a vehicle, something like that. Barter and trade. Sugar used to be the most expensive, like, currency back in the day. Did you know that?
Salt, also, I heard as
Yep,
well.
salt and sugar. Sugar was a delicacy. Like, there wasn't sugar in England that often. Like, that was reserved for the high and the rich. And we separated from England and all that, right? Because we didn't want this statute system. We didn't want that, classing system. But everyone deserves that chance to be a real person and treated like so. I mean, people shouldn't be treated like animals.
What advice would you have for a young kid?
For a young kid?
For a young kid growing up like you did.
Talk about it. Don't close it up. Don't shut the world out either, and don't be mad at the world, because the world didn't do it to you. The neighbor didn't do it to you, and the guy down the street didn't do it to you. The dog didn't do it to you. Things in life happen, and it's uncontrollable. It's out of your power, and you just have to accept that. You got to accept that you can't control everything, because that's what our greatest fears are, I believe. I think our greatest fears is the unknown. That's why we're always exploring, right? Well, how can we fear what we don't know? And if I can't control the outcome, it scares you, doesn't it? You gotta just let it go, And the easiest way to do it is talk about it. It's kind of hard for me to talk about my childhood sometimes, but at the same time, it's not, because it makes it easier each and every single time. And I learn about my own self. Like, and my message to like young kids that are out here homeless is, look at me, guys. I'm 29, almost 30. I've got nothing. I've had it all and lost it numerous times, right? Welcome to the life of the not so rich and the hella famous and always watched. Right now I'm ranked in the top 5 most dangerous people in this state, top 30 watched in this state, and I've been on a federal watch list nationwide since I was 13. For the things that I've done and allegedly, it's ridiculous. This is not the life you want to live. These rap stars that glorify it and all this other stuff, they ain't out there actually doing that kind of shit. King Von, he was. People like that, yes, some were. But don't glorify it. It's not cool. I mean, you want to be a drug dealer. Okay. Well, the whole world doesn't need to know, And there's rules to it, you got to be responsible with it. Like, why would you want to hurt someone else's life? Don't get me wrong. When I allegedly did it back in the day, because I actually had a major case back in 2016, and I got indicted on it, and I beat it. I did it because I knew what was in my product. I knew that they weren't going to kill themselves not knowing what's in it. Nowadays, when people get heroin or they get meth, it's laced with fentanyl. I mean, they're lacing weed with fentanyl nowadays, killing people.
People see that as the main reason on why most drugs should just be legalized or available for purchase through pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
Just for the safety factor of.
Well, if we just let everything go and legalize it all, our economy would boost, and nobody would do it. But you see, the thing is people can't handle drugs. Certain people should not be allowed meth. There was a rule back in the day when meth came around. No women, no children, and if they can't handle their shit, they're cut off. Not everybody was allowed to do that drug. I remember growing up in my dad's garage, and when the women did get high, they sorted nuts and bolts. It wasn't like, let's go get high and steal things. It was, let's get high and build a car. Let's get high and get, John's house built. Let's get high, it was something that was done for a reason. if you weren't going to use it for, like work to get everything to help you, and, because how can you do John's house in a weekend when you got to tend to your own things if you can't work all night? It's kind of, that's where those the morals and values and, those lines kind of get crisscrossed, because it was used for good things, but in reality it was bad, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, I know guys that have been in the game for all their life and never got in trouble, but they follow a strict code, and I know guys that are innocent that are going away for a long time, all because they didn't follow the right rules, and people don't want to own their own shit. You knew the consequences of your action when you just walked out the door, right? And they can't own it. People like that were never allowed to have drugs back in the day, And these kids out here nowadays, they think it's cool because everyone promotes it. We talk about all doing these drugs and all this other stuff, and it's like, really? Is it really that cool? Does it make you that popular? Because let me tell you, what really makes you popular? Having nice things and doing drugs and getting lost in them, and you ain't gonna have that. I have first-hand experience. Had it all, lost it all. I used to have 3-4 vehicles. I had a house, remodeled plenty of houses. I was that functional user. I had a full-time job, using full-time. I could go out and spend $5,000 a week, and it didn't bother me. Like, it didn't faze me. Like, I literally would go eat $200 meals a night, and it never hurt my bank. But is that the life you want? Because I was never home. I went to work, and I went to work. In reality, I don't have anything anymore. I got what I have on my back half the time. Because guess what happened to it all? Those people ain't loyal. They're not there for you. When you're doing 10 to 12 years in the joint, who's going to be there for you? Your family? Maybe, maybe not. But I can almost guarantee you, them brothers that say they're going to be there, they're not unless they're real brothers. But all these little clique gangs that are around here, they ain't going to help you. You might, click up with people in the joint, but why would you go in there to get status, to come out? Because that's status. You earn respect by giving it. I know this is kind of all over the place because that's just the way my mind works. Like, I have ADHD really bad and social anxiety, and I'm not using it as an excuse. It's just I think in a completely different way than most people. I bounce, like, I can go from my childhood to, back to adulthood just, in the blink of an eye, because that's just the way my mind works. It's like I'm thinking about 9,000 things at once. Like, even right now I'm thinking about how this last time I went to jail, I tried to get a hold of my brother. They didn't want nothing to do with me. Didn't even answer. I went and seen him this morning. He didn't want nothing to do with me. Didn't even want to hear my side. All because of what other people have said and how my past, my past has run with it. All because I didn't come home. I was trying to actually do something for myself, and things happen, and people say that, I was using and I wasn't, and that's what happens when you help people. Using ain't the life. I've actually been clean since the 27th, was it May 27th, 2019? And last night and today are both this close. Both this close to throwing it away. And that's all because, I lost what I never wanted to lose again. My nieces are my life. I told my girl that I don't ever want to lose these. And because my ex-employer gave my name and everything in this last case of mine, and said that, well, this and that and the other so, and we've had a disagreement in the past, and my prior history, my attorney says the best thing you can get is take it. Take the deal. And I was 100% innocent. That's the shitty part. The one time I actually didn't do something, I'm getting nailed. So what goes around comes around, because you might get away today, but then you might be innocent and get nailed tomorrow.
Yeah, that happens to a lot of people. They don't see themselves getting a fair shake at trial or when their past comes up in front of a jury or something. So even if they didn't do it, they're just going to say they did.
Yep. Even when there's no evidence. Your word versus a cop's word, who are they going to believe? You know? I already know that. Had that happen more than once. But that's why this world's messed up, because the cops are just like us. They lie too. You just don't hear about it, because when the settlement issues come to when actual cops start getting in trouble and all these lawsuits start coming, when you settle on a lawsuit, instead of take it all the way through, you can't say anything about it. That's why you don't hear about how cops there's like 3 of them out there for lawsuits for planting, evidence or misleading. I remember when I was in jail going right before I went to prison, the public defender's office sent to everybody in the jail a letter. You know what it said? If a detective calls you down to talk to him and says that he can get you out and he can do this and he can do that, no, they can't. Only your attorney can get you deals like that. Only the prosecuting attorney can give you deals like that. And yet, county detectives were saying, "Oh, I'll get you out today. You won't get charged at all."
Yeah, they'll lie.
Exactly. So, what's the difference between me lying and them lying? Because we're all human. It's the fact that they wear a badge and work with a organized group of their own. And they feel that since they're the government and they work for the government, they have more power and control. The best way to, avoid all that is just have a job or do currency trading and stay out of the streets, because it ain't the life to live. I mean, it's hard. Now there is cool, homeless communities and stuff like that. But if you want something like that, have a community. Go somewhere. Don't just be homeless here and homeless there, because I knew people that had actual little homes built here in Rochester, and because it was an eyesore, they got kicked out of their own home. They lost everything. And they lost their things because of their past offenses and history. I mean, I know people that, COVID, you weren't supposed to get evicted, right? My one friend, Tara, their apartment closed down. So she got, kicked out. Sent homeless. Couldn't get in anywhere. Homelessness is a big deal. America needs to stop focusing on things across the seas and focus on their people here. And the only way that's going to happen is if we as a people start stressing that. We need to not worry about all these people coming over from overseas, because America is the only country that gives you rights when you land. You go to Europe and steal something, they're taking your hand. You go to another country and mess up, they're locking you up and you don't have a single right. We give everyone who lands here rights to an extent. So we need to stop focusing on letting people, I don't want to say but we need to stop focusing on paying for other people's problems. Other countries have less crime and murder rates and stuff like that because of the way they're ran. A lot of them are ran by the people when you think about it.
All right, man. I got an appointment I got to get to. Hey, man, no worries. Thanks for sitting down with me, though.
Oh, man, it's 45 minutes. Holy shit. I mean, you can edit that if you want.
No, I probably will a little bit. Yep. Before you go, is there anything you would need today?
No, actually,
You doing all right?
I'm doing great. I got my EBT card. I got donuts, and I got good people around
all right.
me. Thanks, boss.
All right, man. You take care of yourself.
And your name
right?
again is?
Jesse.
Jesse.